Hi, everybody. Peace. Welcome to the Sorry to Bother You show. Wherever or however you're listening, we are so grateful to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm Sean Cottle, and I'm joined as usual by the amazing Mr. Fantastic Dre Pennington.
What up, my boy? How we doing? It's good to be back, man. It's good to see you. It's
Oh,
glowing and everything. You got teeth shining. Okay.
Dre, you're the best, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Of course. Of course.
Dre, how you feeling, man? This is our check-in, bro. Mentally, how you feeling?
Uh, feeling good. Spiritually, I'm always gonna be at a 10. I know I'm never without one. Physically, I'm at like a 6 or a 7. I realized I gained some weight and I got back and I'm like in the gym heavy again.
Uh-huh.
Bro, I be hooping now and I'd be like, oof, guys, I got about 3, 4 games in me. I don't know how much I can do to that. And then mentally, I'm at like a 7 or 8. It's a lot of trying things this week and next like the weeks coming. So it's just a push, a grind, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Dre,
But what about you, my boy? How we doing? How we doing?
oh, yeah, I'm good, man. Mentally, I'm in a great space right now, but that's because spiritually, I'm in the best space I've ever been. Just, giving everything over to Elohim, allowing him to handle everything, whatever stresses I may have, just giving it over to him so I don't have to worry about it. That takes a toll off of me mentally. Physically, you know how it is. We're in season right now, and yeah, the ice baths and the contrast showers and the mobility is necessary at this time. But uh, we're keeping it pushing, man, keeping it pushing. Emotionally, I'm even keeled, I'm level, trying to maintain, not get too high, not get too low with the season. And yeah, man, I'm in a great space right now. But hold on. Okay, I want to share a story real quick before we get started. So you're talking
Okay,
about
okay.
lifting, right? I just want everyone to know that when me and Dre would lift when we were in England, Dre was moving like 400 pounds on deadlift, like for 10 reps at at 4 sets. I will never forget that.
You gotta be strong, guys. Gotta be strong. I'm small out here. Gotta be strong.
I will never forget that. Dre was like, "Yeah, Kashawn, let's go get a lift in before practice." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, okay." I'm thinking we're about to do like some pull-ups, push-ups, maybe a little bit of curls. But Dre gets on the deadlift platform and he puts on a 45-pound plate. I'm like, okay, cool. And he puts on another one. I'm like, oh, wait. Let's just stop right here. And then he puts on two more 45 plates. I was like, oh my gosh. No, let me just stop right here. You gotta remember Dre's like 6'4", 210 at this time, just solid, like Aki, like fresh out the feds prison, just moving everybody. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need this so I can learn how to bully ball too. But Dre is a workout warrior. At that time I hated being in the gym. So Dre was definitely
Oh my lord.
motivated.
Look, look, I was taught you gotta get big. All right. And I'm undersized. I was undersized, so I'm like, I gotta be strong. Can't be frail out here.
Dre did average a double double, guys. He did average a double double points and rebounds, so he was doing something right. But personally, me, I'm not getting, I'm not, I'm not getting in that weight room.
Oh my lord.
But Dre, man, all right, listen, we actually, so we did our pre-script meeting, and we had some breaking news come out, and we'll cover that in a bit. But Dre, let's um let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about the Super Bowl predictions. First
Oh
of
my
all,
god.
your boys, Kansas City, Patty Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs are going up against Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Dre, I know this is something we've been talking about for a while, but what is the outcome that you're expecting out of this game?
So for this game, quite honestly, I'm looking at I don't want to say high scoring, but a good scoring game.
Mhm.
But I'm not 100% sure because I don't know the health of both quarterbacks. Even though they say like, oh, they're healthy enough to play. That does not always mean that they're actually healthy enough to play. A lot of rest and ice baths. I know with Patrick Mahomes, he had that high ankle sprain. Jalen Hurts has the shoulder,
Yeah.
and then um, Hurts. The last time we seen him play, he said, "Oh, I'm only probably about 85%." I
Mhm.
think that'll go up, but at the same time, like if anyone knows with shoulders, even if like any type of like, especially at the quarterback position and how he plays, man, you don't want to take shots. You don't like it, you're gonna like kind of brace yourself a little bit more, and it hurts. It's just like it's something that just to a constant pain, I would say. And then
Mhm.
with Mahomes, his ankle. Also, Kelsey's back. I don't know if anyone heard about that. Anyone thought about that one?
Yeah.
Um, Kelsey's back. Mahomes' ankle. I think did they lose a corner in the game against the Bengals?
They did. They did. They did. They lost their starting nickelback, actually. Yep.
Yeah. So health is the biggest thing right now, but we when I was watching the Chiefs game, I watched their rookies and second year guys take a stride and a step that I didn't expect.
Mhm.
Covering T Higgins very well, covering Jamar Chase just as good, and just making plays on the defensive end that I didn't think would happen, and I honestly thought that the Bengals had like controlled it the whole time, like pretty much had that game and just kind of lost it.
Yeah.
And then with Hurts and the guys, man, I can't, they beat up on my Niners. I can't get into that too much, but they played great. They're like all congrats to them. Like they did what they needed to. We were on our fifth string QB, aka Christian McCaffrey. but but we get to see it, man. Like the number one defense in all facets, other than Niners probably, but number one defense, and I want to say they're the number one scoring defense as well.
They're in the top three. They're in the top three.
So top three scoring defense, um, and also the both MVP candidate quarterbacks and two very high powered offenses. Like
Mhm.
you can look away for a half a quarter, and next thing you know, you're down two touchdowns. Like two very high powered offenses. And I think two of the best receiving cores at that as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think that as far as like O line goes, I think the Eagles have the edge because I think they have the best offensive lineman, and as it's something Lane. I think the last name is Lane.
Hmm.
I think they have the best offensive line, and I think they have one of the better running attacks as well. So I'm just expecting a good game. Quarterback wise, though, I still got Mahomes. I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league by far, but
By far.
um, by far, I think he proved it on a bum ankle and going out there and just dueling with Joe Burrows and making plays. So I give him that. Um, and man, they Reddick on as a defensive end is a monster for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he is a monster.
Yeah.
Like I just don't know, dude. This is a close one. I'm gonna go 40-34 because I think the Chiefs pull it out in a high scoring one. Telling you, I as much as we don't think about it, experience plays a huge deal in this, and I think the Chiefs pull it out, and they've been there out of the last 5 years, three times, two times, no, yeah,
Three times. Yeah. Yeah.
three times. So I think I got the Chiefs in this one.
40-34.
Yeah,
High powered offense. Okay. Dre, we are in the midst of watching the best quarterback of all time, or who's going to go down as the best quarterback of all time, in Patrick Mahomes. And what happens is when you see greatness, you start to take it for granted. And like you just said, this team has been to the Super Bowl 3 out of the past 5 years. And I think we're starting to take for granted how great not only this Patrick Mahomes is, but also the Kansas City system as well, and how the job that Andy Reid has done. And we're not grasping the fact that like you said, this Philadelphia Eagles team was the top three in scoring defense, has the best offensive line in pro football, led by Jason Kelsey, and you could argue the best receiving core as well in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and they arguably have the MVP of the season in Jalen Hurts. Personally, I would give it to Mahomes, but that's another discussion for another day. They're going up against a really talented Philadelphia Eagles team that, yes, they went up against a four-string quarterback in Josh Johnson with San Francisco, but even when Brock Purdy, even when Brock Purdy was in the game, you could tell that Philly was starting to impose their will on San Francisco. And this game is going to say a lot for Patrick Mahomes' legacy, right? So even if for some odd reason Kansas City doesn't win this game, we still have to take into account that Patrick Mahomes has displayed Michael Jordan level dominance in the NFL. And I want to just throw this out there real quick. So think about it. So as of right now, who ranks higher on the all-time quarterback list, Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers?
It's A-Rod, dude. That's a hard one to put. Aaron Rodgers regular season wise has been dominant. I don't know that I want to say Mahomes because recency bias, but I would still go A-Rod because of how dominant he has been.
Okay, and that's fair, but that's fair. The reason I would say Patrick Mahomes is because that dominance is not only displayed in the regular season, but also it carries over into the postseason. And so Patrick Mahomes right now is already in the top 15 for playoff passing yards, which is mind-boggling. He just passed Kurt Warner for, if I'm not mistaken, 19th all-time in playoff touchdowns. And it's only his sixth year, sorry, in the NFL. And this Super Bowl right here is going to solidify the case that even right now, if Patrick Mahomes was to stop playing football, he would go down as a top 3 quarterback of all time. And
wow.
And to get back to the question, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Personally, I don't think this game's going to be quite close because, like you said, during the AC Championship game, Kansas City was depleted. They didn't have within the receiving core, they didn't have Juju Smith-Schuster, and they didn't have Mecole Hardman. And bringing those guys back is going to open up the flats for McKinnon, and it's going to open up the middle of the field for Kelsey, like you said. And Patrick Mahomes now has more time to rest, and his ankle, like you said, is going to be better. And the defense from Kansas City is starting to peak at the right time, led by Chris Jones. You saw what they did to the Bengals, though they do have a weak offensive line. The secondary held up when it needed to, even with the injuries. They're peaking at the right time defensively, which is what's going to be efficient and most effective going up against this Philly offense. Jalen Hurts he looks healthier than when the playoffs started, but the magnitude of the moment is something that Patrick Mahomes is used to. Now, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be affected by the magnitude of the moment because this he's been a winner in a class act everywhere he's been. Alabama, Oklahoma, Roll Tide, by the way. He won us a championship. But, he won't be affected by it, but the rest of the Eagles team might be affected by it. And so I have Kansas City winning this game by a score of 33-17. I think it's going to be close in the first half, but I think Kansas City just pulls away. And I think they're able to create one key turnover in the beginning of the fourth that allows them to carry over and dominate the rest of the game. And I have Patrick Mahomes having over 300 passing yards in this game.
Okay. So my only thing with that is I think right now Philly's the favorite by 2, I want to say I seen. Um, and I think that people didn't realize that the Bengals' offensive line was actually way better than what it was ranked in the playoffs. In the playoffs.
That's a good point.
Um, so if you seen them when they played against who was it? Not Baltimore, but against like I want to say the Bills. That defense, that offensive line held up so good and was just so like strategic. They were moving people. They created time for Burrows to like actually get a pass off.
Yep.
And then on top of that, against the Chiefs, they were holding up until I think it was just key timing that Chris Jones, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Chris
Mhm.
Jones just made a stop and he got to where he needed to be. But as far as a blowout, man, I can't see a blowout. I can't see Philly really blowing anyone out. Well, getting blown out like that. But at the same time, like I said, man, I think that game against against the Niners is a little bit different if it's a full if what's name doesn't get hurt. But I still think the Eagles had was significantly not significantly, but was just a slight edge better in all honesty.
Better than San Fran.
Um, I gotta say it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we couldn't. What I noticed especially was that the defense was on the field for way too long, and eventually they got so tired. And Philly didn't have to throw the ball; they ran it every play.
Right. Right.
And if it wasn't a 5 yard or 4 yard, like 5 yard pickup, 3 yard pickup, they never got into a third and long situation. And
Mhm.
when they did really get into that third and long situation, they converted with um they converted on third down and got it to where it was like 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, and they just ran it again. So
Yeah.
they played it so strategic, and I think that not only did the Niners at that point get outplayed and just were not just were too tired, too much,
Yeah.
but they got outcoached at that time too.
Mm. Mm.
Sirani, he had a great game plan going into it. So I gotta clap it up to them, man. They did well. They didn't play with their food. They got it done. But like I said, Niner Nation, we will be back there because that getting hurt down to our fourth string quarterback was such a fluky thing to ever happen. I've never seen that before ever.
But Jerry, I want to, okay, so I don't want to get off too much on a tangent, but I just want to ask you this question real
Yeah,
quick. Who going into next season for San Francisco, who is QB1? Is it Brock Purdy or is it Trey Lance?
we don't know because Brock Purdy now has to get UCL surgery, so he's out probably the next six 6 months, and then even then you still got to get integrated in. And then Trey Lance, man, you gave up so much to get him, you can't just count him out. But I worry about for Lance is that the right style of play for him, and now he's considered injury prone because
Mm,
Purdy stepped in and did so well, and just to win seven, he went 7-1 as a starter. That's amazing.
exactly. No,
Yeah.
that's
So I'm I'm just wondering how like what's next and who like what moves do you make? Because we all know in football, your team from the year before is never going to be the same as the team the next year.
no, we saw what happened when Tampa Bay tried to do that after they won the Super Bowl, how they went downhill and you see now how they're struggling. But very rarely do you bring back all 22 guys, starters, offense and defense.
This is not possible. So, but like I said, I got Chiefs. I just got faith in Chiefs Kingdom happening. So we'll see what happens, man. I think it's gonna be a good one.
So you're going to be a Chiefs fan this week. I know last week you were a 49ers fan. This week you're a Chiefs fan. And then in September, you're
Yep.
going to go back to New England, right? With Mac Jones. Is that what we're doing?
Don't ever put me in that New England thing. I'm 100% a Niners fan. I'm just saying the Chiefs will win it. I do not like that Eagles game made me so angry, man. Y'all should have seen me screaming at the top of my lungs at the TV.
Right. So we both obviously think that Kansas City is going to pull out this game and that It's gonna be a game, but we both are under the same assumption that Patrick Mahomes is gonna be an all-time great quarterback. Also, Dre, it's never too late to hop on the bandwagon with Jalen Hurts. He's an Alabama guy. We just produce talent. Hey, listen. I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. We just putting it out there for you. The invitation is out there for you.
That
Join Roll Tide Nation.
there's no way that Alabama people are claiming Jalen Hurts now after they said we want him gone. He can't throw the ball. He's not what we want.
I'm just saying, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Mac Jones all Roll Tide. And then now we got Bryce Young coming out. I'm QB Nation, baby. QB Nation, running back nation, wide receiver nation, DB nation.
You can't claim DB Nation. DB Nation is at LSU by far.
I'll give you that. But listen. Saban's got 7 of them things. I'm just saying.
It's true. He does.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Dre, here's the breaking news though that everyone is going to be talking about after we finish this recording. Kyrie Irving, as you know, demanded a trade 3 days ago from the Brooklyn Nets, which came as a surprise to some people. With the trade deadline looming on February 9th, people, I guess, forgot that there was still some animosity between the front office and Kyrie Irving. Dre, we literally just got this breaking news while we were doing our pre-script meeting and discussing our topics. And we actually had to do some adjustments. But Kyrie Irving just got traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, a 2027 first-round pick, and multiple second-round picks. Dre, what does this mean for Dallas moving forward?
Honestly, so you gave up some things that you thought would work out better, but it just wasn't doing what you needed. So losing of Jalen Brunson was obviously bigger than what they anticipated. So now they were like, okay, so that goes now to Spencer Dinwiddie. But I don't think that they realized that Spencer wasn't Brunson. Like Brunson is having an all-star season nearly.
Should have been an all-star.
Yeah. And Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't think has been hitting shots as much for them, even though he's their primary defender for mostly almost everyone, and that's who hides Luka. But now I'm really thinking about it. What was like they gave up Kyrie. I mean, they gave up those to get Kyrie and the first round pick and multiple second rounds. Well, like, how are they defending now? I'm so confused on like to win in the NBA, you have to have long wings, mobile bigs, and then you got to be able to put the ball in the basket. Obviously, they have one of the three things. They have the scoring obviously, because Luka and Kyrie that is nuclear.
Yeah,
but I'm now wondering with Kleba out, and I don't know when his timetable is. With now wings, you don't have like long wings, and now I don't think Kyrie's the best defender, even though I think he's a pretty decent defender. I don't think he's the best, and Luka is not a defender at all either. And guys like hunt after Luka.
Mm-hmm.
What is what's the plan to build around them?
I don't know, Dre. Because the issue now becomes that you have to now start to rebuild that chemistry with two ball dominant guards. You could argue two of the most ball dominant guards in the league, in Luka and Kyrie. And like you said, they're both of them are not known for their defense, and so now that puts more pressure on the other guys in the starting lineup to be great defenders. But now you also add another liability on the defensive end. I do think Kyrie's a better defender, like you said, than Luka, but he's not on the level of a Drew Holiday or a Marcus Smart or, quite frankly, like you say, even a Jalen Brunson for that matter. And where does this leave Dallas? Is Dallas still a contender now in the Western Conference after making this trade?
I think with the like once Brunson left, I think that their chances diminish a lot. I just don't think that they have enough. This their style of play is just so hard, and it like I said, I don't know if people know this, but there have been a lot of comparisons of their style of play being to the Rockets of 2016 to 2020 was it
27.
2018, 2019?
Yeah,
Yeah,
20.
the 2017 and 2018 Rockets. It's very, very similar where it's one-on-ones, breakdowns, and then it's go finish at the rim or a lob or a three-point shot.
But that now that team did have a lot of success though. Remember that team was up 3-2 on Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Now, do you think so you don't think this Dallas team can have the same success as that Houston team?
No, because also on that team, they still had guys who were defenders, and that team had, I'm just gonna be honest, that team like Harden was amazing on that team. And they had Chris Paul who was in not he wasn't as ball dominant. Like he learned how to like get off the ball and pass a little bit more and make sure like everyone got their shots in. I
Mhm.
just don't know how that happens now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So what's the ceiling now for Dallas after making this trade?
Me with chemistry, and I think it's going to take a year to learn how to play with Luca. I honestly think they're going at best second round, and I could be wrong about this,
Uh,
but I just don't think that makes as much sense right now for that team.
so the question then becomes, what was the purpose of making this trade? Because we know obviously that Kyrie wanted a max extension, and Brooklyn wasn't able or willing to give that to him. Does he get that extension with Dallas? Does Dallas offer him that max extension?
Oh yeah, them out for that. Because think about it, how many people want to come down? And I think it all depends on this year, but I think if they have like they have a good thing and they go to like the second round or even like by far if they make it to Western Conference Finals, they got better because the way they were looking before, everyone's hurt. They're not like um their shooters aren't doing as well,
Mhm.
and then they're not defending like they have a lot of gaps in their defense or they have a lot of lapses. But it does make up for the fact of you can find ways to give Luca a break now because
So
that was one of the things that was a knock against them this year was like when they're playing, Luca doesn't have a break and it's hard for the offense to flow.
right.
But now you got Kyrie on the floor. Hey, your offense can go through him and it'll be just as good.
Yeah. In Dre, with Dallas, I don't. They're forced. You would think they're forced into a position to now, to give Kyrie that extension. But I do think a lot of that is going to be dependent on how it looks this season. I think they're willing to have unloaded Finney Smith and Dinwiddie just to try this experiment out. I think they're willing to start from scratch because they have so much trust in Luca and his ability to lead a team, which I think is a little too much at this point in time. I think that Luca needs two or three more pieces to actually lead a team because we see that his style of play isn't conducive for winning. I mean, we've seen him do it. We've seen James Harden do it. We've seen Russell Westbrook do it, and we've seen even all the way back to Oscar Robertson. That mode, that style of play isn't conducive for winning when it comes to the playoffs. So I think they're willing to try something new with Kyrie here, just for the second half of the season. And I think they're willing to unload on Kyrie if it doesn't work. Personally, I don't. I They don't get better, but I think their ceiling doesn't get higher. But I think the floor gets much lower. You know, their how
Yeah.
bad they can be gets much lower. But I want to touch on Brooklyn, man. The you call it a soap opera. I mean, we've talked about Brooklyn ever since we've started this show, the past 3 years. and it's always been something. Whether you agree with it or not, their name has been in the news in one way or the other. And Dre, what's the biggest takeaway from this Brooklyn saga that's now, you could argue, has officially ended?
Man, you two MVPs on your team, a superstar in Kyrie, and ultimately getting nothing but the second round or in first round exits from the team. I just there's not much to say other than it's like that. That's crazy to think about. The fact that we're gonna look back and it's probably some of the worst front office deals that you've ever seen. From giving away not all star, but shot blocker in Jared Allen, to giving away Spencer Dinwiddie just to ultimately get him back, and then to give away Karis LeVert, who's having I think is having a good season with the guys down in the Cavs,
Yep.
and then even giving away like even with the trade of D'Lo, like you got ultimately everything that you did got you all the way back to just having KD, who now is a what 34-year-old KD,
Yeah.
and in the last season has had injuries. He hasn't played a full season in like 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now like you're now like you're like, yo, we got to get some of our trade pieces back. Like we gave up all that for Harden. Like we got to start getting something back and preparing for the future at least a little bit.
Right.
But now I'm looking like what now happens with KD? Like, does he request a trade? Does he want to go? And I think Jacques Vaughn is actually a good coach.
We've seen that Jacques Vaughn has showed, an amount huge aptitude for coaching, especially with this talent, this group of guys. I think Steve Nash got a lot of flack, but we called this 2 years ago that Steve Nash wasn't built for it. He's not a good coach. Not all great players are good coaches. And Jacques Vaughn has shown that he can coach this team, and he's a substantial coach in the NBA. But Dre, I think you have to trade KD now. I know he just signed that extension, but you have to trade KD now because KD's not going to stay in Brooklyn now by himself. The whole reason he left, the whole reason he went to Brooklyn was because of Kyrie.
I'm not trading nothing until I get the best possible, like 3 or 4 picks. On top of 3 or 4 picks, I need another young near all-star player. Like there's nothing you could trade to get KD unless you get another guy that's exactly KD.
But there's no one like that in the league. There's no one like
Okay, but there's nothing that you're gonna really trade to get that. And then on top of that, you still have Ben Simmons' contract, and you still have Ben. So like it's so much like that now just gets thrown into turmoil. I'm just like, wow, that whole thing of kind of throwing like I said, I think the front office of Brooklyn is the absolute worst, and everyone in that front office deserves to get fired.
that. Mm. Now,
Every single one.
but Dre, this is what happens when you allow players to lead organizations, and there has to be some level of leadership in hierarchy. And you have to have a certain level of standards and decorum, and for lack of better words, a backbone that you have when you're in that management position to say, listen, this is how we're going to run things. This is how our culture is going to be. And if you're not willing to be a part of that, then we're going to have to let you go. And I'm not saying that, the guys weren't following with the culture and everything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, for them, for management, for Joe Tsai and Sean Marks to allow Kyrie and KD to not only choose a coach, but also like berate the coach and Steve Nash like in public, and for them to allow them to like sit out. You can't allow that. You can't allow that because now it sets a standard that that's okay. Because if the best players are doing it, then the other guys are going to follow suit, and it just completely diminishes the value of your culture and your organization.
I I agree to an extent, but like at the end of the day, I always say like you're a professional, and you know what the word professional entails, and you know how like you're getting paid to play like you're getting paid to play basketball. Like, bro, just go hoop. Like, go have fun. It's what you do for like you do that for a living. Um, but the thing that like that kills the only thing that really kills me about it is they could have solved that hiring of a coach when they first got um when they first hired Steve Nash. They should have never fired. I forgot who was there before. I'm forgetting his name. Um,
Oh man,
that
yes.
was They should have never let him go. They should have experimented with him first, put Steve Nash at the assistant part, and then gradually, once they see like, okay, it's not working, then you could probably see about Steve Nash. But I just don't think they ever that front office ever really figured it out, and I don't know if they ever will because they're gonna look back and really think like, dang, we really had a two top 20 players ever, and one of the top like one of the top best guards, one of the top 20 guards of all time. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're just gonna look back at that and just be like, wow, we really like muffled that one up.
No, for sure. Sorry, I thought you were saying at first that Kyrie is a top 20 player of all
No,
time.
no, 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 no. I'm talking about James Harden. James Harden is 100% a top 20 player of all time.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. James Harden is the top 20 player of all time? No way.
Man's an offensive guru right there.
But that hasn't led to winning though. Obviously, clearly it hasn't led to winning.
Not every player in the top 10 of all time is one.
Yeah. That's what makes you that's what separates you. That ability to be transcendent in great moments, winning moments. That's what makes because everyone's
So
go ahead.
so we're gonna say like and this we're not trying to get too far off this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But my point is of this is they're gonna look back and just realize we squandered away a great chance to probably win multiple championships
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just be like, wow, we really gave this one away.
Yes, yes, I agree. And Dre, when we're 10 years from now, when we're in our 30s and if we have kids, probably you more likely than me, but if they're gonna ask us why didn't Brooklyn like they're gonna see the roster and they're gonna see it on paper. They're gonna see KD, Kyrie, James Harden, then KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons. They're gonna see that and they're gonna ask, why didn't Brooklyn win a championship? And then we're gonna have to explain all of this to them. And they're gonna think we're crazy, but this all happened. This is I've never seen anything like this in sports before, man.
Hey, it's hilarious, man. But hey, Kyrie caused some turmoil. It made the league a little more interesting. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It's like I love Kyrie, but I'm just going to use this example. It's like, it's like having the toxic girlfriend. This is when you're copacetic and it's too cool for too long. They'll say, well, let me just spice it up a little bit. Let me just cause some confusion right quick. Let me throw this in there real quick. And it's just like that. But on a serious note, we have to remember that Brooklyn did suspend Kyrie 8 games without pay for something that we talked about this off air that you could argue is not valid enough for an 8 game suspension, especially after the way he explained himself and the way he presented himself to the public. Just because it doesn't agree with your standard it doesn't agree with your ideological views or spiritual views, you can't suspend him for that. And so this shows that there was still a level of animosity between Kyrie and the front office. And you actually pointed it out, Trey, a couple weeks ago.
Bro, there's that type of disrespect doesn't just go away. And I'm sorry. They completely disrespected him as a man. And I 100% understand why he would want to leave the organization.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say this, Trey. Kyrie is without a doubt a top 10 player in the NBA. He is a top 10 player right now. That's just
I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say on that one.
okay.
I would maybe go against it, but as far as you want to count out your top 10 however you want to do it. You could throw him in there. He's always going to arguably be in it.
Right.
Um, but as far as like, bro, I'm shocked with Brooklyn. That is crazy. I
Right.
never would have thought that they would have squandered something away like that. That's nuts to me.
Yeah, yeah, you agree. And even just off the talent, the point I was getting at, even with all the talent, like just off the talent alone, Kyrie is a top 10 player. Obviously, he's an all-star, and he was second in the East in all-star voting, was behind his former teammate KD. And Dre, you saw when we talked about this in our pre-script meeting 2 weeks ago, Kyrie, you could argue, is an MVP candidate. Just off
It
his,
could be.
yeah, yeah. You could argue he's an MVP candidate. So you know how I feel about Kyrie. I think he does get a lot of flack, but I do have to hold him accountable because we're unbiased here. But it'll be interesting to see how it works with Dallas. Personally, I don't think it's going to work. I do think he'll end up in LA during the off season, but not because of his attitude, but I just think the style of play is not conducive for winning for him and Luka paired together.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree. But we'll see how, man, it works out for him, man. I hope it works out for him great because, whew, boy, getting like bouncing around like that and someone blatantly telling you we don't want to give you a contract because we can't trust you is just so. I just like I said, I just think it's so disrespectful, and I just don't understand it. Brooklyn, like I said, Brooklyn squandered something away. They could have had something special, and they gave it away.
For sure. I can't believe you said that James Harden is a top 20 player.
We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about this one day, and we're gonna bring up his resume and about how dominant he was. Okay, just for example, who do you think has the most points in the 2010s? Just the 2010s alone. It'll shock you.
Russ is probably up there. James Harden's probably up there too. Uh, is KD up there? KD's probably up there as well.
James Harden. James
Mm-hmm.
Harden's one. KD, I think, is two. But I know for sure Harden is one. For a stretch in the league for 3 or 4 years straight, he was averaging 30, 35, and 32. That is like that's Kobe-esque and dominant. That's dominant.
Okay.
That doesn't all mean he won. He was winning, but it was dominant, and he dominated on the offensive side of the floor.
For sure, but what does it mean if you're not winning? Is it empty calories, Ray?
They they ran into who else? Every time they ran into the Warriors or the eventual champs with the Lakers that 1 year. That's it.
Dre, dude, we just talked about the three.
Hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. Did we not say that the Warriors is probably one of the greatest assembled teams ever? Do we not agree on that?
Yeah, they're one of the best dynasties. Yeah.
Don't ever quote like they're not. They're one of the best dynasties. Deshaun, they were one of the best like offensively, defensively, just assembled teams. They were one of the best assembled teams ever. They
Dre,
had two MVPs and all three, like three All Stars, and
but
then everything on the bench wise was great. That was one of the greatest, and they lost it. They lost it. That's it. Sometimes teams just don't. It just doesn't work out for them.
no, you can't use that excuse. Not with that moment. Dre, the 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. James Harden in that moment is supposed to show you why he's allegedly a top 20 player, but he's not all the time. In that moment right there, you rise above that. And then in game 7, they blew a 12-point lead in the second half at home. At home. At
Look,
home.
I expect them to do that against the one of the greatest organizations of all time, but it is what it is.
Dre, we're gonna have to circle back on this topic I can't believe we just said that. Oh my goodness. I'm not defending you in the comment section on that one either. I'm gonna let you right. But anyway, Dre, let's talk about some WNBA action real quick, man.
Mm.
Candace Parker, top 5 WNBA player of all time, just signed with Las Vegas Aces, who, as we know, just won the WNBA championship. Also, Breonna Stewart, who was probably the biggest free agent in WNBA history up to this point, just signed with the New York Liberty, who 2 weeks ago just traded for former MVP Jonquel Jones. So now you have in New York, you have Breonna Stewart and Jonquel Jones, and to go along with Sabrina Ionescu, you could argue it's the best team in the conference. But now also you've got Candace Parker paired with Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray. That is an amazing lineup right there, Dre.
Look,
What are your thoughts?
You know who this reminds me of?
What?
The 2017 Warriors. They just added on to their already great team. They added on and got another great piece.
Yeah.
And adding not only one of the best players of all, like just best WNBA players of all time, but even just a top 10 player in general to their top 10 maybe.
Who? Candace Parker?
With Brian, yeah, with Candace Parker.
Oh, Candace Parker?
Yeah.
She's top 5 all time, in my opinion.
No, top 10 now. Top 10 now.
Oh, I'm saying. Yeah, she's top 10 now. I'll give her that. She's top 10 now.
Okay, so adding top 15, adding another top 15 player on your team of an already dominant team.
Mm-hmm.
I smell a Minnesota.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and I think it's great for the league because if anyone remembers, people started paying attention to and watching Minnesota Lynx basketball. You know how crazy that is? Like, people sat down and watched, like, oh snap, they have one of the look at, they're like, oh snap, that team is dominant. They got Maya Moore,
Lindsay Whaling,
who was
Sylvia Fowles,
Simone Augustus was going crazy those years too. And they weren't only beating teams, they were dominating teams. Like, and some of those games weren't even close. And they won what? 3 out of 3 and 5 years? 4 and 6, something like that.
Someone correct us. But I want to say it was 4 and 6, Dre. I want to say it was 4 and 6.
Yeah. So they were dominating teams.
Yes.
Look, man, you can do that again with that team. And Candace Parker is arguably top 5 ever and can fight for. Does she fight for that number 1 all time spot?
I think she needs to win 2 more chips to become the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
She still has time in her career left. But Dre, I'm glad you brought the point of it being good for the league, because this is something I've thought about ever since we got the news that Breonna Stewart signed with the Liberty and Candace Parker signed with the Aces. People say they don't like dynasties, and people say that they don't like to watch the Patriots play. They don't like to watch the Warriors play. They don't like to watch Alabama play. They don't like to watch, even if we go into like individual sports, like Serena Williams, they don't like to watch Joker or Federer or Woods. They like to root for whoever is going against those people and those teams because they want parity. But if you think about it, if there is parity and those teams, those people, those athletes aren't in the championship game, oftentimes those ratings go down. So for the WNBA, an organization that has struggled with getting fan turnout, getting TV revenue, which in turn helps their player revenue, the reason they can't pay their players is because they don't generate enough money, is because there is a lot of parity in the WNBA and there's no consistency in it. So as humans, we're naturally creatures of consistency and habit. That's what we want. So when we see consistency in any aspect, subconsciously we do like it, right? But then when we start to put in the other aspects of it, especially with sports, we like to root for the underdog. But there can't be an underdog unless there's a dynasty, like you said, or unless there's consistency. So consistency is good for any league, any sport, for any, even let's look at women's college basketball. Its ratings were at its highest when UConn was dominant, and is even higher now with South Carolina being dominant for the past 2 years. And so for the WNBA, I do think this is going to be good having two dominant teams. I think this is going to be good because it's going to bring in revenue and it's going to bring in more fan turnout, but more importantly, people are going to be tuned in to watch these talented players go up against each other, to watch these allegedly dominant teams, see how they perform. Because you're either going to want to watch them win, or you want to see them fail. It's great storytelling because as you know, sports is just entertainment, but this is good for the WNBA. I don't think parity is not good, especially for small market leagues like the WNBA. But having consistency, this is going to be huge for the WNBA, and I won't be surprised if the WNBA has its largest turnout not only in fans but also in TV revenue this upcoming season.
Yeah, I believe it, man, and it's gonna be fun to watch, man.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough. And I bring it back to this. And what year, if everyone remembers, what were the years that they say that the NBA struggled the most? And they said that the fact that two teams that were dominant became dominant, very extremely popular. What years were those? What, the 80s, the 90s?
yeah, but that's when it was that you could argue that was a golden era for NBA. Though, like you're right.
I think I would say that the 90s, I believe, were maybe. So I say this because they had two dominant teams that just won every year, other than probably the Pistons, who people rooted against. Like you said, they were rooting against the whole time
Yeah.
and wanted to lose. And then it blossomed into the 90s with, you know, Big Jordan coming out and having this come out party and people rooted against.
Yeah,
So I think it's good for them, man. I think this will help them out a lot, honestly.
agreed. I agree, Trey. I agree. And gosh, there's just so much talent on that Vegas team. I'm. It'll be interesting to see how that works, man. Because you could argue they have the best point guard in the league in Chelsea Gray. You could argue they have the best shooter in the WNBA in Kelsey Plum. You could argue they have the best player just in general in Asia Wilson. I mean, this
Dog, straight dog. She's a dog.
she is a dog. She is
Yeah.
tough. And I forgot who I was arguing with this man, but when Vegas went up against Seattle in the WNBA finals this past season, I was saying that Asia Wilson she might not be as skilled as Brianna Stewart, but she's the better player. And the other person was arguing like, nah, Brianna Stewart's way better. But I think that showed you like, Asia Wilson she's on another level right now, man. But yeah. But Dre, that's all we have for today, man. It was an amazing show, bro. It's always great seeing you, bro. Always. I know we talk all the
Of
time.
course, brother.
It's great seeing you, man. Dre, you got any shout outs you want to give, man?
Shout out to the usuals, the fans, of course. We love y'all. Thank you so much for always supporting us. We're back and better. Shout out to my boy Lord in the Stitch. He is still on this grind, man. Any type of clothing you need, he's got you. It's amazing clothing, amazing branding. He just go and check him out. He's small at first, but he will have I think he's gonna have a great impact in the future. And shout out to you, Kashaw, man. Always being, just being a great co-host. Other than that, just a great friend, family, I would say, honestly. But
Yes.
yeah, all love to you.
Thank you.
What about you, bro? Any shout outs? Any shout outs?
Dre, shout out to you, man, because listen, bro, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else, bro. You're my brother. I love you, man. Obviously. I'm not gonna anyway, I give you enough praise. Like you're just gonna go to your head, it's gonna boost your but no, seriously, shout out to the Tapped In podcast. If you want to listen to content that talks about enrichment and upliftment in the Black community, particularly for the Black man, be sure to tune them out. Or tune into them. Shout out to the Nerdy in Many Ways YouTube channel, and also shout out to artist Mike Binge. just released an amazing instrumental called Clarion. That's Clarion. You can find it on all streaming services. An amazing instrumental. I would recommend checking it out. Dre, also shout out to the fans. None of this is possible without them. We love them so much. And also Dre, uh, just shout out to the supporters, man. This is amazing. I'm so blessed that we get to do what we love for a living, man. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else, man.
Thanks.
Max.
Thanks.
But also, Dre, that's all we have for today. If you haven't already, guys, be sure to subscribe to us. We're on all streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to be tuned into all of our latest content. Also, be sure to check us out on Patreon as well to get exclusive content weekly. Be sure to check us out on our Instagram Live weekly shows every Thursday as well. And also be sure to check out our blog on our website, www.sorrytobotheryouShow.com. We post weekly blogs every week where we feature either an athlete, artist, whatever, covering the most recent topics in the world. And yeah, just we're putting out a lot of content, so just be sure to tune into us, guys. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and until next time, guys, peace.